Hello, good evening. Welcome to Camnet Television Main News. My name is Jeffrey Ziambo. We'd like to sincerely apologize for starting the news late. This is due to circumstances beyond our control. Our top stories in the news tonight: defilement case involving a 15-year-old girl goes cold after suspects are released from custody. LUSAKA magistrate warns the SEC to stop wasting the court's time. President HAKAINDE HICHILEMA speaks, making education a tool for job creation. In international news, NATO says deadly blast in Poland likely caused by Ukraine. And in sports news, MWAPE takes positives from Colombia assignment.
In our quest to save nations and develop Africa, Savenda is investing in the agriculture sector so as to produce supply for both local and international markets, housing over 12,000 pullets that are nurtured and fed with our locally made stock feed that comes from our own locally grown maize and soya beans, all processed from our recently installed milling and mixing plant. Our over 95,000 layers have an output capacity of over 1,500 trays of fresh eggs per day that are carefully selected and packaged for all the leading stores and supermarkets nationwide. Our greenhouses are fitted with the latest irrigation system, and the seedlings are nurtured to ensure only healthy plants reach the fields. With our deliberate planting schedule, we are better placed to supply constantly without interruption, thus reliable. Savenda Farms is also changing lives of its dedicated workforce drawn from the local community and beyond. So the next time you think fresh and green, think Savenda Farms.
Hello again, another news in detail. A man of Lusaka's Kanyama compound, whose daughter was allegedly defiled on the 17th of October this year, has complained that the case has gone quiet after the two suspects were released from custody. Frank Lubinda, not his real name, explains that his 14-year-old niece, Mercy Lubinda, also not her real name, was defiled by two older pupils from her school, and that Mr. Lubinda reported the matter to the police on the same day and obtained a medical report which indicated that the girl sustained injuries. He says justice has failed to prevail in this case because police officers at Kanyama police station have paid a blind eye to the matter. And the victim says the incident has left her battling depression, adding that she has become a laughingstock at school, hence calling for justice. More in this report.
Access to justice is still a challenge for an ordinary citizen in Zambia, as witnessed by rising reports of police cases that go quiet with no conclusion after suspects have been arrested. This is more so with cases involving defilement, as these cases are alleged to go quiet after men in uniform are paid by perpetrators. This is the predicament of Frank Lubinda, whose identity has been withheld for the safety of his niece Mercy Lubinda, also not her real name, a grade 6 pupil of Kanyama compound in Lusaka, who was allegedly defiled by two older boys at her school within the same area. As he says, the case has gone quiet after reporting the defilement on the material day to Kanyama police station and obtaining medical reports. The 14-year-old victim now narrates what happened, adding that she is now being victimized and bullied at school after the incident.
So ndepetenzeenda tienda baja magazi yo bakambatana ise guys tikonke magi bakambatieni tafika kuja ko magi kuja tabwatamwa manzi baja magazi baja magi bozati boni mumo kuno kwatu imwani manzi ayi wasimu kumwa magazi ndikukana baja bili ati ayi nifuna ise tinde chabe kwatu tiniti muko manzi ziza singa manzi yakuno nimwe naendera kuja tafika bamwa manzi baja magazi babili mimba mwako wa mmoja bamwa baambia bakesi benzepo magazi umuzo mbia kenza nenda kunchita deba beba amba mai kubwera manje bafuna kuti bagwire ini manje bagwire magi ndiye kupujumuka kutawa eva bwera kusukulu ni anisi yasoche ni mwana na donsere ni kurum kuja onse babili anipita ndonsa kulumu magi evende kubwerera kutaba kubwerera ku school kuja tifika ku school kuja magi after ine abasiriza kuja magayizi baja ndi kuchoka mu nyumba muja.
Her uncle Mr. Frank Lubinda is demanding for justice, questioning why the case has gone quiet.
Babwa apezeka kuti ujawina ngufuti abwera futi agwiriwa through my parents ba ujamina anagwiriwa ndiye kunumuza ba police ati aba bantu bonzi bakwana babiri ndadi nakonka kucha nibaona aba bantu manakamba kuti we therefore kusta banji kuti advertise za arrest kuti atizaka ku then day ba preparation enda ku court then ine mukuyembekezera kunapezeka kuti ati for sure kulibe up to date because since mu 17 October kufika manje kulibe action yamene vachita wa police kulibe chamene wanuza kuchiri chonzo ma parents baba bana sinaona nepo na mafishari yao sini waziva kufika na manje hapa so ni stuck.
While Camnet News has reached out to the Zambia police to get more information on the matter, non-governmental gender organizations coordinating council NGOCC Executive Director Ann Anamela says the NGO has taken an interest in the matter.
So as NGOCC, we are concerned that firstly, if these perpetrators have been released back into society, we do not know how safe this girl is. And then we're also concerned about the welfare of the girl, that besides her safety, she also needs some counseling. We also would like to ensure and will follow up this case to ensure that justice is served and that the perpetrators are brought to book. If such cases are to reduce, perpetrators need to face the law as one way of warning those who may want to do the same. Zipporah Mshala, Camnet News, Lusaka.
Bus drivers at Lusaka's Kulimatawa bus station have appealed to local authorities to come up with a permanent solution to address the challenge of flooding in the station whenever it rains. In an interview with Camnet News, some of the drivers claim that the drainage system is so poor that buses are packed in water, making it difficult for customers to board. The drivers say the matter needs to be dealt with holistically, as most of the times council workers lose revenue because drivers refuse to pay, claiming that they load from outside instead of the bus station. More in this report.
Walking sideways like a crab in some cases, chaotically limping from one place to another to avoid stepping in heavy pools of water, has become a common feature among several residents on the street of Lusaka and other towns during the rain season. The massive flooding on the most part of the street, including bus stations when it heavily rains, leaves some bus drivers in Lusaka's Kulimatawa bus station in distress, as the situation, which has not seen a permanent measure being put in place, continues to affect their business. The drivers have complained about the poor drainage system, stating that the buses are packed in water, making it difficult for commuters to board, and at times they are forced to park outside the station each time it rains heavily. A permanent solution is what they now request for, adding that a move by the Lusaka City Council through the fire brigade to drain the water from the bus station every time is not a lasting solution.
Ngati mvula yaloka tupeza ngati customers birobo kwela mu Kulimatawa sibabwera ingala loss kuliza. One, no customers. Two, tipo na council. What is kupemba through a council na local government. Kati bangane po fast even by DMMU. Bangane po fast te point basta block ya machani. Ma drainage ina ngenda ku Cairo road. Ienda ku Freedom Way. But they are broke, so at least romance ya bwe mvula ya bwanji ikaloka. Manze one time ya bwanji yaenda. So all vacancy wa means so every day but na fabricate.
This vacancy I think they've seen them for themselves. Bantu baende orongera panja manje mabasi yonse yachoka na panja. So it affect one, it affect ngani ya makashi ni guys vakanga ukashi. Then two foot tikara mongata ambo vutana na vacancy was the drivers akamba irongera panja manje nzali bera bwanji council. So by pressure, otherwise maningi. If voti varete mafire brigade, we understand. But I've been asking them to say, how many times are you going to bring my fire brigade? How many times is rain going to come in here? Like I know my fire brigade. Sometimes immature the whole day
First the government from UNIP Up to now, we are suffering from flooded. So we need proper permanent solution in Kulimatawa. Because Limatawa is a center, Yama passengers.
Meanwhile, Lusaka City Council says the current situation being experienced in Kulimatawa bus station is due to the blockage of the pipe that drains water from the station, which runs along Freedom Way.
Like for now, nothing can be done like a permanent solution until that construction of that drainage is done on Simon Moalen. Then we'll open that outlet that drains water into Lumumba Road.
Most parts of Lusaka are already experiencing floods and damage of property. Miriam Kaimba reporting for Camnet TV News.
The Zambia Police Service says it has arrested 15 criminals in Lusaka who have been terrorizing members of the public and stealing from people's homes, boarding houses and businesses. Speaking when they displayed the recovered items at the Lusaka Central Police Wednesday morning, Police spokesperson Ray Hamonga says among the recovered items are mobile phones, laptops, television sets, bales of second-hand clothes and refrigerators and other items. Mr. Hamonga says the criminals were accessing people's homes through cutting rooftops of buildings and gaining entry through open windows or any opening to the building. The police spokesperson has since called on members of the general public who might have lost items to visit the Central Police and identify their items. More in this report.
These items displayed here range from something as basic as earphones to cars, as they are all recoveries made by the Zambia Police Service from various criminal activities within Lusaka. Zambia's capital, Lusaka, has continued to top statistics on the crimes list according to data from the Zambia Police, necessitating enhanced police patrols to curb criminal elements. Zambia Police spokesperson Ray Hamonga made the update to the media Wednesday morning during a display of the items, which include hair dryers, laptops, mobile phones, keyboards, and pistols, among others.
These recoveries were made after police conducted investigations, and so far here at Central Police we are holding on to 15 suspects, and these are broken down as follows. They were actually in two groups. The 12 suspects were involved in breaking into buildings by way of cutting the rooftops, whilst the other 3 were specialized in climbing and gaining entry in these buildings to get these things or through windows that could be left open. We also recovered the following items from the operations again, which we are able to display here. We have a Toyota Viz, registration number AAL 5333, which is golden color. It's at plain view, it's not here.
The police spokesperson adds that also recovered were motor vehicle parts and 77 bales of second-hand clothes.
At Charleston Police, we are holding on to 2 notorious criminals who are actually ex-convicts and have been identified as Kenneth Simwanza, age 24, and of a known house number in Kabrana compound, and also Richard Daka, age 42, also of a known house number in Mutendere. These are actually believed to be behind the spate of break-ins in Charleston and surrounding areas, and they were recently nabbed in Garden compound after vigorous investigations, and they are also involved in breaking into boarding houses especially for females. We have also since displayed or called for members of the public other items which have actually been identified by rightful owners, but we still call upon members of the public that could have lost things in that area to go to Charleston Police and also be able to identify these things. We have also recovered a pistol which has an erased serial number from one of the notorious criminals who was identified as Onele Uchema, 28, of an marked house number in 13 miles, a Congolese national who was recently gunned down by police.
He has urged members of the public to work closely with the police service to ensure that crime is reduced. Zipporah Mshala, Camnet News, Lusaka.
Farmers in Southern Province have officially started receiving farming inputs under the Farmer Input Support Program, FISP. Speaking to journalists in Monze District Wednesday, Provincial Agricultural Coordinator Dr. Max Jombe says the province is ready to distribute the inputs as long as farmers make a deposit of 400 kwacha. And speaking earlier in Zimba, Alpha Commodities, a company contracted by government to supply inputs to the southern region, says the province has already received over 20 metric tons of fertilizer and is ready for collection from the 55,700 metric tons it is supposed to supply the farmers. More in this report.
Farmers in Southern Province have started collecting inputs under the Farmer Input Support Program, FISIP. A check by Camnet News in Zimba and Monze district revealed that farmers are already collecting the inputs and are ready for this year's farming season. And one of the farmers spoken to at the site, Jolam Nankumpaisia, says farmers are happy that they are now able to collect their inputs and can now continue with their farming activities.
Ibari bambira kukweza fertilizer gozwago Alpha Commodity we fertilizer wawa tulirumbi DEFILEMENT kuti yakali aba kutupatusaka tuli 6 vacha so ejo yatari kuchitika munsi wamana abaroba Alpha tuli barumbide.
We are happy that we have started receiving the inputs in Zimba. We thank government for the job well done.
And Alpha Commodities Operations Manager Ndeleki Mianda says the province has so far received about 20,000 metric tons of fertilizer, with the rest sitting in Lusaka province.
We are grateful that the exercise has actually started now. We saw this morning in Zimba where farmers are picking. So in terms of building up of stock, we want to assure the province that we have 20,000 plus metric tons of fertilizer that is currently sitting in the district. And then we've got another 28,000 combined that is sitting in Lusaka. That is the fertilizer which has been verified by other authorities.
Meanwhile, Zimba District Commissioner Robinson Mulamfu has projected a good harvest in the region with the timely distribution of the inputs and the coming of the rain season.
Well, the farmers we are seeing here, they are coming from very, very far, down some from the border, Kamukeza, which is too far for them to be coming here, and they'll be here for some time. Some will be here for 3-4 days. So with that one, we feel we need to find a way forward so that possibly next year, this kind of activity happens at our central position, which is Jinkoyo.
In Monze District Agriculture Officer Audrey Chanda says the 30,000 farmers registered in Monze will be cleared for the inputs by the end of November this year.
Yes, so on FISIP, the allocation for Monze District is 30,000 farmers. And as at 12 hours today, the farmers that had been authorized to deposit were at 11,000, out of which about 9,900 had already deposited. So the start of
Meanwhile, Southern Province Agriculture Coordinator says the province is ready for the farmers.
Safely say that we have started issuing inputs to the farmers, and we are ready because I think all those that have deposited, we hope that we can give them the ATCs or the authority to collect so that they start collecting. We have enough stock that we can give it to the farmers, and the stock that has not yet come is because the sheds are full. We want to empty these sheds.
Opposition political party leaders have advised the government to direct the Zambia National Service to assist with the distribution of farming inputs countrywide to avert hunger next year. Speaking on behalf of the 6 opposition political parties at a press briefing in Lusaka, Citizens First President Harry Kalaba notes that any further delay in the delivery of fertilizer and seed to farmers will have a devastating impact on the 2022-2023 farming season. Mr. Kalaba says President HICHILEMA should immediately order ZNS to help with the farming input distribution because it has the capacity to manage the exercise. The opposition parties represented at the presser were the Patriotic Front, Citizens First, Economic Front, Movement for Democratic Change, Golden Party Zambia, and the Patriots for Economic Progress.
agriculture sector has until now been on the growth trajectory and needed a boost to ensure that growth is not just sustained, but more importantly increased if we are to satisfy the yearning demand in the region and the continent as a whole. Alas, what we are experiencing today is exactly the opposite. If not intended to completely obliterate the sector in a bid to push self-interest and the private enterprise at the expense of the suffering majority. I think we have all seen that the major interest of our government has not been about when the farmers will receive the farming inputs. It has been who is winning the tender to supply the fertilizer. And that is a major source of worry.
If it was not caught alive on camera, you get the point. So these are the things that we are going through right now. And the international community, the Zambians, have to take keen interest in what is going on. Because if you're going to violate people at a human rights point, you know, our own dignity, our own integrity as human beings, we're being violated like that, then there's a problem, you know. And I'm very, very happy I've seen that President Hayali actually has sued right now. He has sued for violation of his rights. Because too many people are going to be arrested.
Opposition Socialist Party leader Fred Membe has charged that the United Party for National Development Administration has failed to deliver farming inputs before the onset of the rains. Addressing journalists in Lusaka Wednesday, Mr. Membe says there has been too much empty talk from the head of state and his administration, looking at the contradicting statements on FISP by government officials. He adds that if factors that led to the failure to supply inputs to farmers at the right time and in the needed quantities are not understood and resolved, the agriculture sector will suffer.
It is very clear that Mr. HAKAINDE HICHILEMA and his UPN government have failed to deliver FISP fertilizer before the onset of the rains. This is after all the promises to our poor people that fertilizer was on the way. It is of great concern to us, the Socialist Party, as agriculture is a major source of livelihood for the majority of our people. 54.8% of our workforce is deployed in agriculture.
The Movement for Multi-Party Democracy, MMD, has urged the Zambia police to act swiftly on offences being reported before it by citizens if the country is to be crime-free. MMD National Chairman Toby Maliti has also urged the law enforcement agencies to quickly act on matters that border on law-breaking without fear or favour, saying this will reduce white-collar and other crimes in the country. And Mr. Maliti says government institutions charged with the mandate of administering matters of registered organizations in the country should not allow doctored or fabricated documents such as audited books of accounts, minutes of board or management meetings, among others. He says this is in the wake of MMD's standing at the Registrar of Societies, as he wonders if the opposition party has been submitting audited financial records, stating that he, as national chairman, has not seen any auditors auditing the institution.
We are talking of integrity, morality, accountability. Then we should walk the talk. Again, I throw this to the government of the day. This government has come on the premise of the rule of law, accountability, and transparency. Also, the government of the day, I'm appealing to them to stand in a better position to direct parties and the clubs through the registry of societies, that gone are the days when they are going to issue fake audited reports and other issues. Let them enforce and invoke the powers invested in the resource societies to bring to book those erring or correcting, better still, those who are making mistakes, so that we can have a leadership rising up from parties that will govern the country in the right manner. Charity begins at home.
Zambia's President HAKAINDE HICHILEMA says the country's education system should equally be teaching citizens to have a mindset of working for themselves and create their own jobs away from the system where they are oriented to be working for other people. Speaking when he officially opened the 10th edition of the Innovation Africa 2022 Ministerial Summit, hosting over 300 delegates from across Africa and other parts of the world, President HICHILEMA challenged the delegates to come up with real solutions that answer to African problems, especially in addressing the huge youthful population. He says there is need for countries to increase investments in education for skills development through digital technologies, digital innovation, as well as information and communications technologies infrastructure to spur innovation on the continent. And former Tanzanian President Jakaya Kikwete said the provision of quality education is the only way countries can create the Africa that is needed. More in this report.
Zambia's Republican President HAKAINDE HICHILEMA has officially opened the 10th edition of the Innovation Africa 2022 Ministerial Summit, hosting over 3,000 delegates from across Africa and other parts of the world. The Education Summit is being held under the theme Digital Transformation in Education and Skills Development for Africa. And President HICHILEMA says the country's education system should equally be teaching citizens to have a mindset of working for themselves and create their own jobs away from the system where they are oriented to be working for other people.
Our school systems also are geared towards producing graduates that are looking for a job. Graduates, when one advert is run in the newspaper, you'll find with the shrinking economies for different reasons, thousands of applicants for 1 or 2 jobs apply. Because the mindset through the curricula, through the school system is geared towards employment or to work for somebody. I think it's high time that our educational systems and curricula began to train at an early age again another dynamic subject of entrepreneurship.
The president also spoke to the need for financial literacy to be introduced in schools.
The issues around competencies, just financial literacy, Mr. President, is a challenge in this country. You find a lot of people with PhDs, masters, but very low financial literacy. Now we expect these to run businesses. We expect these to effectively deliver in job creation. They get limitations. And I think we would like, and we've taken a decision as a country, that financial literacy must come into our curricula at an early age.
Former Tanzanian President Jakaya Kikwete, who is also chairman of the Global Education Partnership, also spoke to the need for Africa to have a generation of young people with the skills to create jobs and reduce poverty.
To prevent education crisis from becoming a catastrophe, every country must take 3 key actions. First, without substantial investments in education, there will be no transformation. It is that simple. The volume of funding is critical, but so are efficiency and equity. To have impact, funds must reach the most distant schools and marginalized children.
Meanwhile, Science and Technology Minister Felix Mutati says ICT has the potential to transform the continent to a level where lives can be changed.
We must look inward and interrogate how we can scale up digital transformation in education and skills development across the continent. We must explore ways we can improve innovation, support, and to tackle the various challenges that we face on the continent of Africa.
And President HAKAINDE HICHILEMA also used the summit to call on African countries to partner with the private sector and increase investment in the education sector to create skills needed to create jobs on the continent. Prudence Chota, reporting For Camnet TV News.
The United Party for National Development, UPND Youth Leadership, says the party has not abandoned youths who fought for it while in opposition, stating that the president is working around rewarding each of them. Speaking to Camnet News, party deputy national chairperson in charge of politics and mobilization, Trevor Mwinde, says not all the youths can benefit at once, but that complaining is likely to bring division into the party. He says the 2023 salary increment of 10% for all civil servants is a sign that the president will not turn back on his promise of supporting those who suffered for the party. 7 youths who were incarcerated alongside with the then opposition UPND President HAKAINDE HICHILEMA and then Party Vice President Jeffrey Waliamwamba GBM in 2016 and served a 4-year jail sentence, complained to Camnet News that they have been abandoned despite having been incarcerated for simply fighting for the party.
So as far as we are concerned, the genuine causes and the cries of many youths across the country, we know it is true that they are having difficulties to interact with the government officials here and there. But believe you me, we are not also resting. The district officials are not also resting. The provincial officials are not also resting. Even those very people that were affected, and even others that have died, widows and orphans, along the way in this new Dawn administration, we are not jumping the sequences. Nomba mwema kadas twalipanshi pamo kurwansha mufulira kitwe karulushi ndola fiala bafe bwino ino time balaka kurapalapa kakirwe balaka kurapo bala sortinga bwino mwisakamana imisepera shinene cyo timiena shena pano na shena shari churi ifo fine mure irishanya.
You're watching the main news at Camnet Television. We'll take a break. We'll be back with more news after the break.
From time immemorial, we have had different types of lighting options, from those that can burn down our investments in minutes to those that dig holes in our pockets due to constant replacement and huge consumption of our ZESCO units. Savenda Electric introduces the new and advanced electric bulb with cutting-edge technology of LED that has low power consumption, gives out bright white light, and lasts up to 25,000 hours. Savenda Electric manufactures all types of LED light, like plastic LED fluorescent tubes, down lights, ceiling lights, outdoor fittings, and solar street lights made to customer specifications. Let's live on the bright side of life by choosing the wide range of Savenda electric lighting solutions that are available in all leading stores and supermarkets countrywide. For orders, call 0962-642-490 or email jnbunda@savenda.com or pchabula@savenda.com.
Your skin is the biggest muscle in your body. That's why we make sure that Oracle is #1 when it comes to taking care of your precious skin. Oracle Pure Petroleum Jelly and Glycerin soothes, moisturizes, and keeps your skin perfect. Oracle Pure Petroleum products for that perfect skin.
Cabbages, onions, maize, potatoes, tomatoes, chilies. At Rainglow, we supply great quality irrigation for the mentioned crops and more at an affordable price. Get our 2,000 meter flat drip for as low as 2,900 kwacha, or our 500 meter round hose for 1,300 kwacha. Customize your own spacing with our 500 meter blank round hose going for 1,200 kwacha, ideal for orchards such as avocado, mango, banana, oranges, etc. Rainglow Irrigation, best quality, best price.
Welcome back. We'll continue with the news. A LUSAKA magistrate has warned the Anti-Corruption Commission, SEC, to stop wasting the court's time by failing to present witnesses before court. Magistrate Sylvia Munyinya said this after the prosecution team from the SEC informed her that they wanted to adjourn the case in which former Home Affairs Minister Stephen Kampyongo and his wife Wanzia Chirwa are facing 11 counts of possession of property worth over 29 million kwacha suspected to be proceeds of crime. According to the SEC, the witnesses are out of town and could not appear before court. And the magistrate has advised the state to withdraw the matter if they are not ready to proceed. More in this report.
The prosecution from the Anti-Corruption Commission was Wednesday morning warned by the Lusaka's Magistrate Court to cease wasting the court's time by failing to bring witnesses before court. This warning by Magistrate Sylvia Muninya came after the state informed her that they wanted to adjourn the corruption-related case in which former Home Affairs Minister Stephen Kampyongo is jointly charged with his wife because the witnesses they had intended to bring before court are out of town. The magistrate wondered why the state would fail to bring witnesses to court if they had enough time to prepare following the time the accused took plea, adding that they had wasted the judiciary time, further advising them that if they are not ready to proceed with the matter and feel they have too many cases, they should withdraw the case. In this case, Mr. Kampyongo has been jointly charged together with his wife, Wanizia Chewa, a chief planner at the Ministry of Youth and Sport, with 11 counts of possession of property suspected to be proceeds of crime. The couple has pleaded not guilty to the allegations. Recently, the Anti-Corruption Commission arrested the duo for the said offense of possession of property worth over 29 million, suspected of being proceeds of crime. The couple is accused of owning various properties between the 1st of January 2012 and the 30th of September 2022. A property located in Eureka off Kafua Road valued at 11 million kwacha, a property in Ibex Hill valued at 1.6 million kwacha are among other properties that the duo is believed to have corruptly gained. November 23, 2022 has been set as the date for commencement of trial. Miriam Kaimba reporting for Camnet TV News.
Economic and Equity Party leader Chilufya Tayali has petitioned the government before the Lusaka High Court seeking a declaration that he has been unlawfully detained without a formal charge. According to a petition filed before court, Mr. Tayali wants the court to declare that his personal liberty, rights to privacy and freedom of expression have been infringed. This comes on the backdrop of his arrest and subsequent detention on the 13th of November 2022 when police and anti-flying squad officers, commonly known as C5, raided his residence. In his petition, the plaintiff claims that he was arrested on the material date at his residence around 18 hours by the said officers, adding that he did not yield to the police officers' mission to arrest him as they allegedly did not have a search warrant. Mr. Tayali has further charged that, surprisingly, after conferring with his lawyers, the police gained entry into his premises by breaking his gate and arrested him. Kabwe Member of Parliament Chrysosta Piri, in collaboration with the Sebo Zinc, have donated a borehole 100 meters in depth to the mobile police camp in Kabwe. The donation was necessitated after the 3 existing boreholes at the camp malfunctioned, a situation which left over 180 households without water for over 6 months. And in receiving the donation, Deputy Commissioner of Police for the Central Province, Ms. Charity Munganga, on behalf of the Zambia Police Central Division, thanked the lawmaker and her cooperating partner Sebo Zinc for the gesture, adding that the donation was timely as the situation in the police camp was almost getting out of hand. More in this report.
As a Member of Parliament for Kabwe Central Constituency, I received a request from Mobile Police Unit Camp requesting that we drill a borehole for them because they had problems for the past 6 months. Previously they had 4 boreholes, of which 3 of them have gone dry. They only have 1 which is operating, and of course it's unable even to fill the tank. Knowing that all the 13 boreholes that we have approved for this year through CDF were already allocated, I had to contact the Sebo Zinc, of course through my office, have come to my aid and they have agreed to drill a borehole at a depth of not less than 100 meters to make sure that this borehole does not dry up like other boreholes that I've had before.
Initially we had 4 boreholes, 2 of which have since collapsed, 1 dried up, and the other one had low water supply. So as Zambia Police Central Division, we are so thankful to the area Member of Parliament and Sebo Zinc for the help that they've awarded to us as Zambia Police Central Division.
We'll take a break. We'll be back with international and sports news.
You know, I can take her a bit.
Yes, my dear.
I was thinking of getting you a Bugatti on your birthday.
Really?
I'm quiet. My name is Yana.
Don't worry, man. That's why there is insurance.
Insurance?
You heard me.
Not just any kind of insurance, but Savenda General Insurance, a company that offers superior customer service, highly professional and dedicated staff. We are not just any insurance company, but an insurance company that actually pays our claims. We cover, among others, fire, marine, aviation, engineering, agriculture, motor vehicle, and miscellaneous insurance. So, live life to the full, knowing that Savenda General Insurance has got you covered. Savenda General Insurance. Insurance excellence.
For immediate coverage of any breaking or latest news in Zambia and around the world on Camnet television, call the numbers on your screen. Camnet television, bringing to your screens fair news, impartial news, credible and reliable news all the time. Get the whole truth on Camnet World News. Camnet Television, not just another channel.
In international news, leaders of the Group of 20 G20 major economies have issued a declaration deploring in the strongest terms Russia's aggression against Ukraine. The final communique, approved on Wednesday after a 2-day summit in Indonesia, said the majority of members strongly condemned the war in Ukraine but noted there were other views. For more in international news, here's a roundup.
This missile's trajectory had the potential to affect the course of the conflict as a whole. The war in Ukraine seeming to spill over onto neighbouring territory, Polish territory, NATO territory. This witness personally knew both of the men who were killed.
I ran over to the window because it was pretty close, 100 metres. I saw this monstrous black cloud and a streak of terrible smoke.
On the other side of the world in Bali, leaders of the G7 and NATO nations convened an emergency meeting. A missile attack on one NATO country could trigger a collective response from the whole alliance, but afterwards the US president remained cautious.
It's unlikely in the minds of the trajectory that it was fired from Russia, but we'll see. We'll see.
Tuesday had seen one of the most intense Russian missile bombardments of the entire war. Scores of missiles hitting multiple Ukrainian civilian infrastructure targets, leaving entire towns and villages without power. Ukraine's air defences in turn launching dozens of their own missiles to try to shoot them down. And that's why President Biden and NATO allies are being so careful. Photos of the missile debris in Poland suggest it came from an S-300 air defence system, Russian-made, but used by Ukrainian forces. And as an investigation by Poland and its NATO allies continues, the Polish president has admitted the likelihood of what he describes as an unfortunate accident. President Andrzej Duda saying it is highly probable the missile was in fact fired by Ukrainian air defence. Moscow is denying any involvement and accused Poland of reacting hysterically to the incident, and Russia has some support, even from one NATO member.
I have to respect the statements made by Russia. It's significant for us that Russia says they have nothing to do with this.
A security cordon has been thrown around the site of the missile strike, police preventing media from getting within half a mile of the area. Ukraine and its Western allies now insist that no matter who fired the missile, the death and destruction here wouldn't have occurred but for Russia's invasion of Ukraine. NATO ambassadors have met in Brussels. Air defence and the deployment of more military hardware to the Polish border high on the agenda. Russian or not, the missile that hit Poland has ratcheted up the tension and greatly increased the risk of escalation.
The worst drought in 40 years has hit farmers across East Africa, causing food insecurity and threatening famine. In Kenya, arable land on the outskirts of the capital Nairobi is supposed to be especially fertile, but 4 consecutive failed rainy seasons have turned one farmer's life upside down. We used to sell a lot of maize after harvest. Now we didn't get enough for commercial use, just a bit for subsistence. Almost 3 years now since we harvested anything of substance. Out of 1 acre, you can just get a bag out of it. In the face of the ongoing drought crisis, the use of genetically modified crops is seen as a solution to failing harvests. The country recently ended a ban on cultivating and importing the crops.
We conducted confined field trials for a maize variety that is enhanced to resist drought. Now what that means is that this maize is able to give at least a harvest even in times of high water stress when there is no rain. So, and also it has the ability to more or less reselect. I mean, it goes dry, completely loses water up to around almost 20% or even less. But when a drop of water hits the ground, the plant is able to come alive.
But food security and biodiversity groups have condemned the lifting of the ban. They argue that using low-tech irrigation techniques, improved seed and access to water will boost farm yields, as opposed to adopting GMOs.
I think what we are lacking in our country is water. Look at the people who have enough water with good seed, not GMO seeds. They are doing well. They are not hungry. GMO seed, which has so many controversies, I feel like our president should have shelved it a little bit for safety of those things to be established.
The drought has left millions in Kenya in need of food aid. Prices of maize flour, the country's staple, have also been rising uncontrollably.
It's now time for sports news. Zambia women national team coach Bruce MWAPE believes his side will learn valuable lessons from the 1-0 back-to-back defeats to Colombia in the November 12 and 15 international friendlies. Colombia striker Mayra Ramirez scored in either matches to give the hosts narrow wins over the Copper Queens in the 2 matches used to prepare for the 2023 FIFA Women's World Cup to be co-hosted by Australia and New Zealand. In Wednesday's game, MWAPE made 6 changes to his side, handing starts to second-choice goalkeeper Catherine Musonda, Pauline Zulu, Mary Wilombe, Rhoda Chileshe, Misozi Zulu and Ziomara Mapepa. Ramirez struck from the penalty spot in the 20th minute after Musonda was adjudged to have fouled Alexa Barr in the box. The goalkeeper was stretchered off after a nasty-looking collision with Barr 11 minutes later. Both teams were using the matches as part of preparations for the 2022 FIFA Women's World Cup to be co-hosted by Australia and New Zealand. Zambia is in Group B alongside Spain, Japan and Costa Rica. To end Camnet television news, we'll take a look at stories making headlines once again. Defilement case involving a 15-year-old girl goes cold after suspects are released from custody. LUSAKA magistrate warns the Anti-Corruption Commission SEC to stop wasting the court's time. President HAKAINDE HICHILEMA speaks making education a tool for job creation. In international news, NATO says deadly blasts in Poland likely caused by Ukraine. And in sports news, MWAPE takes positives from Colombia assignment. Our Camnet verse of the day is coming from Deuteronomy 4, verse 29. But from there you will seek the Lord your God, and you will find him, if you search after him with all your heart and with all your soul. Thank you once again for watching Camnet Television Main News. I'm Jeffrey Ziambo. Good night.